Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is an old friend to the show, Steve Kuclo. I had to get you here. You're the only bodybuilder that I know in recent memory that has gone to the White House, at least during the Trump administration.
I like it. I like to be, one of the only, and I like to be the representative. Why not?
How does a bodybuilder get invited to the White House, of all places?
I guess you got to know people in the right places, but no, it was pretty amazing to be invited, to be one of 150 people actually invited to the social media summit at the White House, and to be able to be a representative for bodybuilding. And I think at a time when bodybuilding in general needs to have some good light on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're about the only light in a bevy of darkness that's been going on in our industry lately, between people dying this past year and arrests and crazy social media wars. It's nice to see that someone's actually doing something productive. Now, Trump did something cool. He said, you know what? Social media is so important in today's society from a business perspective and marketing perspective that I'm going to hold a summit at the White House, and I'm going to bring social media influencers, and then we're going to talk about what the future of social media should be. Because let's face it, these Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, these big businesses are basically controlling a lot of people's lives in a sense now, because a lot of people are dependent on these for income. And what was the gist of that you got from the conference over there at the White House? What was the sentiment they were trying to kind of relay?
I think the major thing is been the control or attack of freedom of speech in general, and how the tech companies are censoring certain outlets, whether it's religious platforms that get restricted, or political platforms, whether conservative or whatever. They're seeing more and more control or limit of reach. They're seeing, like, my wife's even experienced like this shadow banning that they call it, to where people search her name or her company, Booty Queen Apparel, and she doesn't even show up, which is crazy.
Wow.
So I think, to create more of an even playing field for people, being, they say they're private companies, but, they're publicly traded companies now, Twitter, Facebook, all these companies. Right. So why couldn't we, let's have an even playing field. If there's going to be rules, everybody plays by those rules. And then it's, we know about it, and we try to, follow the, what kind of rules there are.
It's weird that they restrict certain, like who cares if someone wants to talk about their religion on their social media? It's their social media. What would be the reason that that the social media outlet would want to restrict that?
I don't know the answer.
Well, I think we lost Steve here. Let's see if we can get him back.
Whether they're anti-God, whether they're anti, whatever agenda or whatever, religion they're anti, it's apparent. So I think it's good that there's somebody, the president's doing good in trying to create the even playing field, trying to prevent the censorship or the limit of freedom of speech. I mean, that's such a amazing, freedom we have in this country. So I think it can't be infringed upon like a lot of these, amendments we have.
How many members do you have on Instagram? How many followers?
Followers, we're knocking on 300,000 on Instagram, which is
awesome.
Pretty good.
That's awesome. So when someone like the Trump administration goes out and tries to look for social media influencers, how does your name come up? In other words, why do they pick Steve Kuclo?
I know a few of the people that are pretty high up in the political world, in the Instagram and Facebook and Twitter world, and I've been to a few of their events, and I think they said they submitted a group of names, and my name was one that was on the list. Cool. And it was pretty awesome to get that invite. And my slogan I've been using for a while, "Make bodybuilding great again." Yeah. It sat well with the administration, so I was.
That was good. No, that's excellent. So when you go to the White House, how does it work? Because I know there's obviously a lot of security there. Walk us through when you get off the airplane, and what do you do from there?
I got in a day early, met up with some of the guys I knew that were going to be at the event, and then the next day was obviously the big event. And there's, like you said, a ton of security, and which is nice to feel.
What do you do? Do you take a cab to the White House, or do they pick you up in a limo?
Yeah. They you kind of stay wherever you want. So I stayed at a Hilton not too far from the White House, and just took an Uber there. And they tell you where to go, and they have like there's literally 4 stages of security and Secret Service everywhere. So. They had ID checks twice. They had a metal detector, and then they had like these 2 dogs you had to walk through in order. And they obviously were trying to smell for explosives or drugs or whatever. So you felt safe being in that space, but just to be able to kind of walk through and see the history and see the parts of the White House that most of America never gets to see, other than maybe some photos or video online.
Oh, so this is a restricted area. This is not part of the tour area normally.
No, yeah, it was in the East Wing, which is also you have the Rose Garden right there, which we went in after, and then they had the Oval Office and all that kind of stuff. So we're in you're in the trenches with the president, really.
Now, when you go in there, are you allowed to walk around once you're in there, or do you have to are you restricted into a certain area?
We were kind of restricted to a certain area, like being so many people in there, they don't want kind of just randoms going off and maybe stealing a White House.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah,
memorabilia, kind of doing a little shirt tuck. So we don't want to have that headline. Bodybuilder steals a fork from White House. Caught.
I believe I know some bodybuilders that would be caught doing that. You know that for sure. Now, are you allowed to take pictures with your phone in there?
Yeah. That was really cool. Obviously, being social media, you don't want to be like the one guy that's sitting there with your phone, like taking selfies and walking through. But we had, for me, it was cool because, everybody else was obviously social media influencers and people that do it for a living. So being able to take pictures and video and try to live stream stuff and stories, you're doing what everybody else is doing. And it was cool to document that whole journey that I was able to do on really through that day.
Right. So what was the take home message at the end of the day? Obviously, they talked about, how to make it fair and even, and because Instagram and Facebook are so powerful, and YouTube now, that it's almost scary, because there's people, RXMuscle, we make some money, help us pay some bills with our YouTube channel, but there are people out there that make probably 30-40 grand a month on YouTube, in our industry. Nick's channel over there, Strength and Power, makes a lot of money. I mean, if Trump decide, or not Trump, I should say, if YouTube decided to pull the plug on his channel, he goes from making all that money to nothing. That's a scary proposition, that they have such control over your life,
Absolutely. So I think really the take-home message was not be afraid to, put out the message you want to put out, do the things that, I think, because it creates a fear, and people are then afraid to say, well, maybe I shouldn't talk about this, or something to believe in, or maybe I shouldn't post this, and obviously there's certain things you shouldn't post just on a moral basis, but in general, if you have a faith, if you're trying to put out a good positive message, and it's about what you believe in, I think, that's the biggest thing the president kind of drove home was, don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to post about it in fear of being, blocked and censored. There's power in numbers. And I think if we all kind of stick together and just do what we believe, we'll succeed in it.
What recourse does a person have if YouTube decides to shut you down? I mean, we've seen it happen in a lot of accounts out there. I know people, I've had guys on the show that get shut down all the time, because they're talking about steroids or something like that, and they just shut the whole channel down. And what recourse does a person have? I mean, I know Trump wants to support this. Is there going to be something in place where...
I do believe they're working on some kind of bill or amendment or some kind of executive order that does allow them to, the administration or the government to have a little more control of what is the companies are able to do, So that's what I believe they're working on. They didn't necessarily say, hey, we're going to have a bill in 2 weeks, but it was definitely apparent that they're working on something to even the playing field and protect that freedom of speech.
Right. Now, when you appear at the White House and you meet people there, obviously, that are also social media influencers, what kind of numbers are we looking at these other people? I mean, you have a really good good following. Amanda has a good following. What are these other people? These other people like nuts, like off the charts, or are they kind of in the same realm as you?
A lot of them, they had different followings on all platforms. So there's some big YouTube guys, some guys that are big on Instagram and Facebook, and so it covered all social media platforms. But the president said there was 250 people total in that room between journalists and Congress, government people, and all the influencers that were there. And he said the reach that they added up from everybody that was invited was close to 500 million, people, which is amazing.
Yeah,
so when you think about it, he said that the people in this room had more reach than any media outlet in the United States. So
Holy
like that's such a powerful tool that to really get out the truth or get out your message. That's what was it was pretty amazing to be included in that group.
When you realize the magnitude of the influence that you have, especially going to a White House and kind of having it thrown in your face that, hey, you reach a lot of people, does it change your sense of responsibility to what you put out there? I know it does to me. I know when I see I have 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm like, I have a responsibility to tell them the truth and to report in a way that's not, maybe destructive or irresponsible.
Yeah, I've always been one of good, moral integrity. I feel like everything I post, I always consider it like, is this something I would, show my mom or my grandmother and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I think if you have a little bit of that, like I like to be able to say what I post can hit all, somebody that's a elementary school kid all the way to, a senior citizen, that they would be able to respect it, to be able to look at it and be like, that's a very positive thing. I like to put out good positive energy. I think there's so much negativity and darkness, like you said, in what's going on in this world and currently in the industry that, let's get some good positivity. Let's get some good light in the industry. Let's get some good, press for what we're doing and something that we all believe in and love and live this lifestyle that I think it does get shadowed by a lot of negativity. So let's put out some good messages, get out there. There's a lot of guys that are doing some really positive things, and it's great to see.
Yeah. You know what? Look, we all know what's going on with Shawn Rhoden. It's unfortunate, he was arrested for the, charged with rape. And I know you probably feel the same way I do. We know Shawn in a different light. We know him as a bodybuilder. We know him from seeing him at shows. He's a good guy. He's a mild-mannered guy. But we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So when I report on this, I don't know what your feelings are about the whole case, but when I report on it, I try to remove myself from being his friend, and I try to report from both sides, from his perspective and from the girl's perspective, because we don't know what happened. You and I were not in the room with them. So I've been getting, I think some people feel that like I've been not fair to Shawn, but that's not the case. I think as a media guy, I owe it to the story to believe both sides 100% and to say, okay, let's let the court decide. I mean, I can't be biased towards Shawn just because I'm friends with him.
Absolutely. And I think you do your viewers justice by doing that. I think so much media is so one-sided, or people are putting out what they like their feeling and belief only, versus making your audience or your followers, create an opinion of themselves based on the facts that you present. Right. You're not saying, I don't believe this girl, or I only believe Shawn, or you're not saying any of that. You're just putting out what's out there. And that to me is true journalism. It's what the media should be, versus trying to say, be one-sided in what you're reporting. You're just reporting facts and getting the real story out there versus just trying to say your opinion.
Right. Plus, the people who are going to try this case, and I keep explaining to people, are not people who know Shawn or this girl. These are going to be people in Utah who never heard of Shawn Rhoden, never heard of the girl, don't know anything about bodybuilding or our industry. They're going to listen to the facts and they're going to judge it. So it doesn't matter if people put out there that he's passed 2 lie detector tests or that she was arrested for fraud 10 years ago. It doesn't matter, because you're not trying the case in public opinion, because the people who are going to be on the jury won't even know anything about this. We're a little microcosm. We're not the O.J. Simpson case where everyone's heard of everyone, where everyone's heard of O.J. No one's heard of Shawn except in our industry, right? I mean, am I wrong about this?
No, you're completely right. And I think, when when they poll juries and they get people in, I've been in jury pools before. It's, they ask you, do you know this person? Do you have a biased opinion based on, race or religion, whatever? And if somebody says, yeah, I do, or you're not going to be picked for jury.
Right, exactly. Now, with Rhoden out of the Olympia, it looks like Big Ramy is not going to be in the Olympia. Obviously, I don't think we're going to see Kai or Phil returning this year. Now Josh Lenardowitz is backed out. You got to be licking your chops because you were right on the cusp of making that top 6. And now with all these guys out, you have a very real shot, especially the way you looked in your competitions this year. I think it was the best I've ever seen you. You must be super psyched to have this opportunity,
Very, very excited. I think that the door's wide open for anybody to step in that top 6 and really to make a case to be Mr. Olympia. I know, guys are going to be gunning for it and everybody's going to be bringing their best, whoever shows up. But as you know, it all boils down to that day, that time on stage. People are going to be putting out photos and videos, and you got all the internet judges out there that are going to be placing their people. But to me, I just focused on what I have to do, focus on myself, focus on, making sure my training, my diet, everything's on point to be able to bring my best. And I'm excited that, it is a changing of guard. Last year we saw it with Shawn taking over from Phil.
Right.
And to me, the sport needed it. The fans loved it. They got a whole new wave of excitement.
Sure.
There's a lot of new fans out there. So I think it's good for these guys like myself and the Juan Morels and the Brandon Currys that have been in the sport for, 15 plus years, the guys that have been killing ourselves. And now it's like the new wave of blood that's coming in, and it's an opportunity for us to really shine.
And guys like you and Juan, like you said, are big guys. Mr. Olympia has always been a big guy. Dexter might have been, one of the smaller guys out there. Obviously, he's got the crazy conditioning and shape and structure. But most of the time, Mr. Olympia's been the biggest guy on stage. So that has to bode well for guys with big structures like yourself who are going into this lineup, because that's what these judges look for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the size plays in the structure game plays in my favor, being one of the bigger guys. I competed at the Arnold and the Indy Pro right around 285 on stage. And that was the biggest I've ever been, but I was able to kind of combine the size with the condition and, the symmetry. All kind of works together, in my opinion. I don't think it's always necessarily the biggest guy, and it's not necessarily always the most conditioned guy. I think it's the total package that Mr. Olympia should be.
Well, it took Jay a long time, to get to the level of where he was at, where he was actually challenging. He grew and grew and grew and improved and improved. And you've been doing the same thing. You've just steadily improved your entire career. I mean, people don't realize you started really young, So when you turned pro, you were a very young pro. So now it's like your body's just coming into its own now.
Exactly. I think you would totally agree with this. Slow and steady is going to win the race in bodybuilding. I think in the recent, you see a lot of guys, tapping out or being hurt or having health issues because, maybe they pushed it too hard. Your body, will, eventually kind of fight you. I think we all fight that in this sport of what we do because, you push yourself to such extremes, with dieting, with training, you're beating your body up day in and day out. So in order to really, bring your best, you have to do it smart. You have to think of longevity on it. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Are you as hungry today to be, the best bodybuilder in the world as you were 10 years ago?
You have waves in it, and I can explain how that works. Like, I think, you do a show and you don't place where you get, and you get a little bit down on yourself, and is this for me? Am I going to be able to do this? But, last year getting it back in that top 10 and then, kind of getting that fire back in you a little bit more, and then seeing what's happening this year. It's right now, like the thing about bodybuilding is it's really a one-man sport. It's all on us to do the work, to eat the food, to do everything we have to do. Nobody's going to hold your hand and do it for you. So to have the opportunity to potentially be Mr. Olympia this year and be one of the guys considered in that top running is an honor and something I'm super excited about, super motivated about, and very ready to do it.
Yeah, it is. When you have a chance, it super motivates you a lot more. But it's the times when you don't think you have a chance that you're doing the work. And that's when I think a lot of people give up. They're like, I'll never be there. And then they start slacking and they miss meals and they miss workouts. And before they know it, they haven't made any progress in 5 years. You never seem to have been one of those guys. You might have had a little slump here and there, but you never really had a period of time where you went backwards, I think.
Right, right. I always look at it like, I like to work hard. I'm kind of that blue collar guy that, nothing was given to me in life. I've always worked for everything I had.
Yeah.
And I think the work ethic that I've was instilled in me from a kid through my parents, and then being a firefighter for 10 years
Sure.
and, being able to, learn how to suffer and sacrifice and do the things you do, but try to create a balance. It all works together, and I never let something necessarily bring me down. I always try to take a positive out of a negative.
Yeah.
If something is, say, set a step back, let that be a setup for a step forward, and just stay, really focused on the ultimate goal.
What's going on with the clothing company with you and Amanda?
That's going really well.
Yeah.
Booty Queen Apparel, very exciting. Between being on Shark Tank and then getting a lot of exposure that way, and we opened up a store in Dallas here at a mall, a Willow Bend Mall.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's got to be a big pain in the ass.
We're not just all online now, which is cool. So it kind of gives us a spot to go to, and we're able to interact with people and fans. And we get people from all over, especially around the holidays. We had people from Mexico and Europe that were visiting friends or family in town. Right. They were coming to the store, and we were meeting them, and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here and get to meet you.
So you're actually in the store on a daily basis, you two?
Not always on a daily basis, but we get there enough to, because if we're there trying to run the business, but we're getting stopped and talking to people, and
right.
you can never truly run the business that way. But we do a lot of the administrative and ordering and direction of the company and stuff from either the house, or we have an office there at the store that we use too.
Right.
So, but it's going great. It's something we learn. It's a lot of work, but it's kind of like bodybuilding. You got to make adjustments, and you have to do the things. Just like running species nutrition. Like there's no blueprint in business. And just finding good employees and people that believe in your vision, and just putting your head down and working hard.
Yeah, my wife runs everything. She doesn't believe in employees. What? Yeah. What when you go? What's the name of the store in the mall?
It's Booty Queen Apparel. So it's kind of our headquarters, our flagship store.
Right.
So it's a really nice, great mall, and it's a big store. It's like 4,500 square feet.
Wow, so, that's huge.
It's huge. It was a little bit big for what we had, but we're able to really utilize it for events. We've had some yoga classes and seminars and different things in the store. So cool. It creates community, and we really try to help encourage and inspire women, and that's really what the brand was about.
Right.
So that's what my wife's calling is outside of competing to me is being a light in for women.
Yeah, she does, and she does a great job at that. Obviously, she's got a great personality. What are you still involved with Mark Cuban?
No, Damon John.
Oh, Damon. Excuse me. Right.
We've got to deal with, and he, yes, we're still involved. Like they do a good job at throwing us, kind of throwing us a bone here and there. Like, they'll say, hey, we got a spot on Dr. Oz. We're able to get you your brand on there. Do you want to, send some stuff or do? Absolutely. Like that stuff we really wouldn't. We'd have to really fight to get, and they get a lot more frequently. Yeah. And then even trying to get in some more sales channels, and they've approached us about maybe getting on HSN or QVC possibly. Right. So that, a lot of those doors they're able to open for us versus us trying to do it ourselves would be a lot harder. Sure.
Yeah, I could definitely see Amanda on QVC. I mean, that's like that's a no-brainer right there, right?
I think other than RXMuscle Radio and more in the morning, I think her favorite is QVC.
We were the breeding ground for her. We were training her. We put her in training over there early on in her career. Well, guys, you're doing a great job over there, Steve. Best of luck, obviously, in the last 7 weeks of your Olympia prep, and this could be a big year for you, and we're all rooting for you over here at RXMuscle. I know all the fans love you; they support you, and great job at the White House there, and keep doing the positive stuff for the bodybuilding world. We need more of that.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, man, and I'm excited. For all the people out there that are never been to Olympia, I encourage you to get out to the Olympia, get there, be able to meet you in person, and it's, as the Olympia is our Super Bowl, and it's such an amazing show and production. That it's one that I think if you've never been, you have to go to at least once in your life. And this is probably one of the best years to go because it's wide open. So make sure you get there.
It's wide open not only in the bodybuilding but also in the 212. So we're gonna see two new champions crowned, which is really exciting.
Correct. No, absolutely. So it's a lot of good things happening in that aspect, and let's just keep the positivity and good things going for what the sport, really is and about. I mean, you could get on if you see, so like we just talked about social media, it's so flooded with fitness and people love it. I mean, it's one of the top, I think, categories in social media is fitness in general.
Yeah.
So to be one of the icons or one of the guys that is at the top of the sport is an honor, and it's something that I carry, very. I just don't take for granted, and it's
Sure.
and I'm very excited to be able to hopefully carry the torch and be a light.
I think it's going to be a great Olympia too. I think Dan Solomon's going to do a phenomenal job this year, and like I said, the excitement level is going to be insane. Unfortunately, I probably won't be there because my wife is giving birth right before that, but RXMuscle will be there, of course, representing and covering the show. And I know, like I said, I know Dan's going to do a great job. So best of luck. Keep us updated if anything happens. Don't go doing anything negative in the next 7 weeks.
No, we're just
don't hurt yourself. Don't back out of the show. Don't rob any liquor stores or anything like that, please.
We'll be all right. I know. That's the goal. So literally, I'll be handcuffed to my bedpost until to eat or to train. That's all I'm going to do.
That's right. Thank you, Steve Kuclo. And that, guys, is going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.